PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Huff and puff, pant, 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 pant. This is what's called the crazy time of the year.
Yes.
We have 3 of those, and this is one of them because we're coming up on the end of the year. We've got year-end awards. We've got a few special reviews. We've got a bunch of other stuff. Going to be a little bit of all over the road this week because we haven't had time to catch all the other films, and the next 2 weeks are going to be a little bit weird, too. But what the heck? You know what it is. It's us, right?
It absolutely is. And you know, if it's us, it's going to be different.
And it's all happening right here, right now. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
Like sands through the Oscar bait.
This is Subject Cinema.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
This town needs an enema.
Celebrating a decade of film podcasting. Blasting out of Beantown, USA, you're tuned into Subject Cinema with T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Directive.
Oh, behave. Yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
Suppose you run your business and let me run mine. Here's looking at you, kid.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome TC and Kim.
I love this time of year, but it's exhausting.
Well, I love this time of year for the feeling of this time of year, the spirit of this time of year.
I'm talking about the film stuff.
Oh. Yes, that's exhausting.
Welcome to Subject Cinema. I'm T.C. Kirkham.
Hi, I'm Kim Brown.
Subject Cinema number 547, day and date December 4th, 2016.
Yep.
We are now 25 days away from the 12th annual Poppies and Rosies Awards.
Yep.
Coming up on New Year's Eve, and we still haven't seen all the films. So the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be a little bit weird on the schedule. The next 2 weeks will probably be mostly catch-up movie shows without much else in between, unless there's going to be. I know Anthony gives his, by the way, sends his regrets. He is still working on his audio problem. He's been I feel bad for him. He's been trying for 6 weeks to figure this thing out, and it's still happening. So, and he's had people look at it, and they can't find it.
We miss having him here.
He will hopefully be back next week. He says he's going to try a couple of alternative ideas. But other than stuff like that, we'll probably have a lot of reviews in the next couple of weeks as we get caught up, and less of the regular stuff. So this show, we're piling on some of the crazy stuff and less reviews, because there's been so much going on in the world of film and kind of crazy stuff. We do have a couple of reviews, but not the kind that you would be expecting. And, of course, we can't not have a big beginning movie. So we decided to take a trip back in time to 51 years ago. And it came out in 1965, right?
64.
64, so 52 years ago. And kind of combined it with other things, and it's going to be a part of our big thing this week as we head back to that wonderful piece of cinematic junk and the boys from Riff Tracks on this week's main screen.
Tonight's movie contains sights and sounds so impressive, you'll wonder why we didn't charge you admission. Candy and popcorn are available from our snack bar. As a courtesy to all in attendance today, please refrain from smoking or talking during our feature presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The movie is about to begin.
The main screen.
Santa Claus conquers the Martians. Santa sets up a fantastic automatic toy factory on Mars. The Martian leader battles the wicked Voldar in a desperate effort to save Santa, the wise man of Mars.
Dig the crazy theme music, man. Do, 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 do. Hooray for Santa Claus.
If you don't stop singing
they
that,
spell
I'm going
the
to
name
slap
and
you.
they still say Santy.
Well, I don't know. I never heard anybody refer to him as Santa Claus before.
1964's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Ugh.
We're not even going to go into the starring people yet. And we're doing this as our main screen as part of the Riff Tracks Christmas double feature. We'll get to the rest of the Riff Track stuff later in the segment. But right now, can you give us the kind of an overview of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians?
Those guys deserve a medal, and we deserve a stiff drink.
I like this one better than I like Santa Claus, the one from Mexico. I enjoy it because it's so bad you have fun pointing and laughing.
Okay, anyway.
And I'd never seen it on the big screen until the other day, so it was interesting. Okay.
Yeah. The plot, such as it is, for Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, hold on to your hats, folks. This is going to get weird.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah, I know. Pretty much,
Ta-da!
For those of you who are waiting for subtle plot twists, there ain't none.
Hooray for Santa Claus.
I am really not kidding. I'm going to hit you with a candy cane if you don't quit it.
Is it peppermint?
Yes.
No. Hit me away. Hit away.
That's another podcast.
Okay.
The people of Mars are concerned about the children of Mars because apparently there's life on Mars. Ta-da! But the problem is parents are concerned that their children are listless and disinterested and not speaking to them. In other words, apparently they're teenagers.
And why are they that way?
Because they are too busy watching Earth television programs and they are enchanted by the Earth figure known as Santa Claus.
Never mind the fact that they couldn't get it live if they wanted to. They would be about 5 years behind from the signal, I would think.
Yeah. But you're actually trying to inject science into this.
Science!
That's so cute. Anyway, so the leader of Mars, at least I'm assuming the leader.
They said he was, yeah.
Yeah, Kimar decides that he and a group of his other Martian compatriots speak with a wise old Martian named Chochem, who is a Martian sage. And Chochem's whole spiel basically comes down to the fact that Martians expect their children to act like small adults. They're not allowed to laugh and play and, be children. And that's why things are so effed up. And his whole rambling diatribe that makes Yoda sound concise can be boiled down to one phrase, that they need a Santa Claus on Mars. And after saying this, he disappears in a poof of smoke. So the Martians decide they are going to, basically incur an interplanetary incident by kidnapping Santa Claus and bringing him to Mars, so that will make the Martian children happy. What? So anyway, they show up they circle the planet in their incredibly bad-looking UFO, and they're at first confused by the fact that it seems like there's Santa Clauses everywhere. Every street corner in America seems to have a Santa Claus on it. They find two Earth children once they land, Billy and Betty, who explain the situation to them that those guys on the street corner aren't the real Santa, they're Santa's helpers. That the real Santa is up at the North Pole getting toys ready for, Christmas and all that. So the Martians head off to the North Pole, taking Billy and Betty as hostages. I mean, guests. They proceed to try and kidnap Santa Claus by using a giant robot, which Santa turns into a toy. And long story short, they do manage to kidnap Santa and bring him back to Mars. Now, one of the Martians has been against this whole idea from the beginning. He's of the opinion that Martian children are fine the way they are and they don't need Santa Claus. While they're going back to Mars, this one Martian, whose name is Voldar, attempts to murder Santa Claus and the children by having them stuck in a room where the airlock is and then proceeding to open the airlock. But Santa and the kids escape by crawling through an air vent, because Santa can get into small, locations and all that, hello, chimneys. So, anyway, Santa and the children are taken to Mars and wind up actually being treated quite nicely by the Martian people, because they want them to, they want Santa to bring joy to the children of Mars. And Santa is actually taking this a lot better than most kidnapped victims would. And he and the children set up a toy-making operation to start making toys for the Martian children. Earth toys, which makes absolutely no friggin' sense, but we're not going to dwell on that. There is another Martian named Droppo, who is the intended comic relief in this movie. The laziest man on Mars. He's kind of this comical figure who is friends with the children and friends with Santa Claus, and winds up dressing up like Santa and inadvertently gets kidnapped by Voldar and his minions, who think that they've captured the real Santa and they intend to use him as a hostage.
No, don't give them the wrong idea.
What?
There's no minions in this film.
No, I mean proper minions. Lowercase minions, not minions with a capital L.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean the walking tater tots. No walking, screaming yellow zonkers in this movie. Okay. Long story short, the bad guys wind up getting defeated. Droppo becomes the Santa Claus of Mars, and the Martians send Santa and Billy and Betty back to Earth. So Christmas is saved. Yay! The end. Oh my God, this movie hurts.
With John Call as Santa Claus, Leonard Hicks as Kemar, Vincent Beck as Voldar, Bill McCutcheon as Droppo, Victor Stiles as Billy, Donna Conforti as Betty, Chris Month as Bomar, and a 10-year-old Pia Zadora as Gurmar, Leah Martin as Momar, Charles Wren as Hargo, James Cahill as Rigna. That's the spiritual guy, right?
No, that's Cho Chem.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Ned Wertimer, we'll get to that in a minute, as Andy Anderson, Doris Rich as Mrs. Claus, Carl Don as Chochim and Von Green, and Ivor Bowden as Winky. Now, several of these people were actually able to salvage a career after it, including Bill McCutcheon, who went on to play a character on Sesame Street for many years.
Yes, he did.
That's Droppo. And Ned Wertimer, of course, was the Jefferson's doorman for years and years and years.
Ralph, I think.
Ralph, he passed away a couple years ago. And Pia Zadora, of course, became infamous in the early 80s for her
acting.
Kind of softcore acting in movies like Butterfly and The Lonely Lady, and I actually am a huge fan of her singing. She's a marvelous singer, and I wish she'd do it more often. That's what she does mostly, is tours with her music. But she was quite young here.
Yes. Oh my God, and all the angels in heaven, this movie hurts. Oh boy.
On a scale of one, if I were to rank bad Christmas movies,
and there are a lot of them.
This one would come in second behind Santa Claus, and just ahead of A Christmas Story, which I realize everyone else except me loves. I hate that movie. And it's like...
yeah, but it's not a bad movie. You just don't like it because you don't like it. It's you wouldn't... You can't say the production values
all right, we're not going to talk about A Christmas Story.
Okay, all
but
right.
Yeah, I just don't like... You're right. I don't like it.
It's not that it's a badly put together movie.
Santa Claus from 1980-something had horrible production values for its time, too.
The one with John Lithgow and Dudley Moore.
Right.
Yeah.
And David Huddleston as Santa Claus probably deserves to be in there, too.
Yep.
So what'd you think?
Oh, man. This movie is... Although, I have to say, I mean, it is a terrible movie. It is an absolutely terrible movie. But
it has a great theme song, though.
No, it does not.
It does, too.
Oh.
Hooray for Santa Claus.
I am not kidding. Do you want to spend Christmas in the ER?
I like the theme song. The best thing about the film.
You also think Disco Duck is funny, so there.
Disco Duck was a #1 hit.
I don't care. The man
I could start singing the Jellyfish song.
Don't. The gentleman that played Santa Claus, John Call, I have to actually say, he looks like Santa.
He's quite good
really
as Santa Claus. He does
look,
the best he can with a bad
yeah,
script.
he actually does a nice job as Santa Claus. He looks the part. The other thing that's actually
It isn't the acting that's bad in this film.
Oh, yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's the script. The acting is fine. I mean, for the kids are fine. The Martians are a little bit lame.
Yeah.
Except for the leader guy, which is Kimar, right? Leonard Hicks. But the rest of them are on the par with... I actually did say that... which one was it I said? Or was that was a different... That was the short. I'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Get that in a minute.
The thing that I actually find interesting, we did when we were doing research on this... this movie is actually the first time, as far as anybody can tell, this is the first time on film that Mrs. Claus was ever portrayed.
Wow, really? That late?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the TV special Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer would come out 3 weeks after this movie came out. And that's where she first showed up on television. But this was the first time she had ever showed up in a movie,
Both
as far
in the
as
same
anybody,
year. Wow, that's
as
crazy.
far as anybody can tell.
Yeah.
This film just irritates me on a couple of different levels, though. Simply. And I know some people are going to roll their eyes at this one and be like, well, whatever. But I don't care. It's a Christmas movie.
Well, whatever.
Well, it's a Christmas movie and all that stuff like that. Birth of our Lord and Savior? No, we're not going to touch on that. It's all about Santa Claus. No!
Theaters did not do... They separated the two back in the day. There was... Religious films usually centered around the death of Christ, and there was Christmas movies. So they didn't actually... have a confluence, except maybe in It's a Wonderful Life and a couple of other places. Sort of. So it's like,
that's just a me thing. Fine, I'll deal with it. But I think, for a little kid, I suppose this would be entertaining. Mm-hmm. It's dumb, but...
I find it entertaining up to a point. I think it's hysterically funny.
Because it's so bad. I also want to bring up...
That's part of the reason, but also part of the reason is I like John Call's portrayal of Santa Claus. I do think Bill McCutcheon as Droppo is funny, comic relief, and it isn't terrible to the point like Santa Claus was. So I find it amusing.
You find it amusing. Okay.
It's so amusing.
The one thing that I find interesting, which I think is obviously kind of a sly wink toward any adults that got dragged to this thing, is an instance in the movie where after Santa Claus has been abducted and the world is, tossed into a bit of a panic, that they have an interview with a character named Werner von Green, I think, which I was like, who has this
I was in hysterics.
Who has this very heavy German accent. And, the whole thing, and I'm like, oh, I get it. That's cute. It's
a whole ex-Nazi rocket guy motif going.
It's for those of you who are too young and don't get it, the character was a parody of a man named
Werner von Braun.
Yeah, who was a scientist who was brought to America after World War II to work on the space program.
I am not a Nazi. See, hi. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing.
Bad TC.
I mean,
actually, in all honesty, there was a documentary done a few years ago on the space race, and A&E put it together. And if they were accurate in their portrayal, von Braun was not a true Nazi. He was one of these people that were shoved into the party because he had to be, and he was one of the first to jump out of the party when he could, when the Allies showed up. It's like, get me out of here.
Well,
so, I mean, everybody jokes around about, especially back then, they used to joke around that way that I just did. I'm really sorry if I offended our Jewish friends. But he wasn't a bad person, and he was responsible for taking Earth to the moon.
Okay.
So
back to this movie. This film was on the bottom 100, part of the bottom 100 list for the IMDb, deservedly so. And it probably would have languished in obscurity if it hadn't been for Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I don't know if it would be obscure. It started to come back and hit TV again around the same time Pia Zadora started to get really popular, and they found out she was a child actress in this film. And it started showing up on late night movies around Christmas time, and because we got it in where I lived in Ohio
really?
As early as '84 or
I
'85. Never watched it.
I'd heard of it in books about cult films and stuff like that because I've been
it's in a ton of bad movie books.
I've been interested in that stuff since I was a teenager, and I remember hearing about it, and I was like, I'm probably never going to find this thing, and then it became the holiday. The holiday movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000 ran in 1991 when they were still on Comedy Central. And because of that, it got, a whole new generation of people discovered it. It was featured on Cinematic Titanic.
It's in public domain, so there's been like 100 different VHS and DVDs of it out there of all of varying quality.
Yeah. It is a dumb movie.
With a great theme song.
It is dumb. It is silly, but I have to say one thing for it. Like I said, is it a dumb movie? Yes. Is it a silly movie? Yes. Is it a mean-spirited movie? No. It actually isn't.
I also think this movie has the best portrayal of Santa Claus of all the early films, because he's just very Santa Clausy, very jolly, very fun, very friendly.
The thing I like about the gentleman that played Santa Claus in this film is the fact that he is definitely... the whole scene when he and the children are almost killed, when he shows up on the bridge later on, he's like, oh, well, this accidentally happened, and that accidentally happened.
With his great big smile on his face.
With this great big smile and this twinkle in his eye, like, you're not fooling me at all, buddy. I like that. I think, it's after generations of dealing with naughty children that, Santa knows what's what.
Okay.
And I did actually I did think that was interesting.
So what's your score going to be?
I have to score it?
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a C-.
That high, huh? Well, I like the film, and I'm giving it a D.
Well, I'm trying to be nice. It is Christmas. It is the Christmas season.
It's Christmas season. Yeah.
Look, at least this one doesn't have a telescope with a giant eye.
I know. Okay? All right, so fade out and let's sing the theme song again. Hooray for Santa Claus.
I'm leaving. That's it. Do the rest of the show by yourself.
No film is too good or too bad for us. This is Subject Cinema.
In a world where podcasts already seem to address every imaginable subject, one man broke new ground with a seemingly random obsession about exploding helicopters in movies. He was a podcaster on the edge, a maverick broadcaster who played by his own rules. Now, he has a last chance to talk about the strange way helicopters explode in film. Exploding Helicopter, available on iTunes and Podomatic now. Think you know about chopper fireballs? Think again.
Subject Cinema. It's time for Riff Track. And it's not an easy job. They watch movies and they make up jokes about them. Tell their jokes to microphones. Put the jokes into a file on a secret server deep beneath a mountain, protected by a dragon. Who's gonna get to riff those tracks? I don't have a pick tracks where the riffs are missing. Why you always gotta pick riff tracks? And the riff tracks picks all the tracks worth ripping. On some other day, somewhere far away,
will you get back in here? I won't sing it again, honestly. We got riff tracks to do.
Promise?
I promise.
All right.
In addition to Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, there was a whole great fun with Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett and Kevin Murphy, as they presented 2 encores of previous year's Christmas with new wraparounds that were kind of stupid, actually. They all ended with Kevin getting hit in the gut with a fist or something.
It's a Christmas tradition. Assault. Yay. They were also having people send in their holiday photos.
Oh, there were some hilarious holiday photos. It's like, oh my gosh.
I thought my family took pictures at the inopportune times. Sheesh.
I've got to say, when we saw Santa Claus Conference of Martians, there's also a short with it.
Yes.
Before we get to the rest of the show.
Right.
The short with it, oh, yeah.
He didn't like it.
Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen. Snow Queen.
And the overacting award goes to
Snow Queen.
Stop. It's a private joke. Anyway,
it's a Mucha Lucha joke. If you got it anyway,
and if you get that, anywho,
it actually has to do with Mucha Lucha and a WWE wrestler at the time. Anyway, go ahead.
Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen was this little slice of pain that we got introduced to before Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Little slice of pain? That's being kind.
Well,
this was agony. Oh, God, this was horrible.
It wasn't Touch of Satan.
No, but that was a feature.
It was Touch of Santa.
Oh, great. Didn't they do a Touch of Santa? It was called The Santa Claus with Tim Allen? Wasn't that the same basic plot?
No.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, moving on. Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen, such as it is.
Snow Queen.
Would you stop that? Tells the story of Santa who looks like he's been on a bender, who is taking a nap and his nap is sort of interrupted by the Fairy Snow Queen, who comes mincing into the scene. I'm sorry, dancing into the scene.
She's ballet dancing into the scene.
Allegedly.
I couldn't do those pliés she was doing.
No,
could you?
No. Okay, fine. But you usually do that kind of dancing with a partner. It looks weird when you're doing it by yourself. She decides that she's going to play a trick on Santa, and her trick is involving making all of the toys that are lying around Santa's workshop come to life. I don't really understand how giving sentience to toys is a trick, but we'll run with it. So, with a wave of her magic wand, all of the toys lying around Santa's workshop come to life. And the toys include a rag doll, a musical doll, the most annoying Jack-in-the-Box on the planet, a toy soldier, a baby doll, a peasant doll, and a doll called a candy lion. Don't ask. It's a lion that wants to eat candy. I don't get it. So anyway,
neither did they, but boy, they ran with it.
Well, it's so dumb.
Dandelion and his sister Dandelion.
I'm sorry. The last time I checked, lions ate antelopes. Not candy. So anyway, Santa wakes up from his bender nap and pleads with the Fairy Snow Queen to turn the toys back into toys so that he can deliver them on Christmas, all 7 of them. So she concedes that she acquiesces that she's going to turn them back, but 2 of the toys have a problem with this idea. The musical doll and the toy soldier have fallen in love. Aww. And they don't want to get turned back into toys because they're in love with each other. Again. Aww. But they do agree to be toys again once they get to share a kiss, and the toy soldier gives her a pin to put on her dress. And so the toys all get turned back into toys, but Santa and the Fairy Snow Queen come to an agreement that the toys are all going to be able to come to life at midnight to spy on the children and make sure they've all been good for Santa, and they will report back to Snoopy. Now, who's Snoopy, you ask? Snoopy is
this incredibly powerful, painful female troll, something, elf on the shelf, whatever she's supposed to be. And boy, is she annoying!
For the record, I did not kick him in the nuts to get his voice that high. Just want that out there.
I'm a voiceover person. I can do voices.
Yeah, I know, but boy, I bet you that's strained. Snoopy is referred to as a brownie. Okay.
She didn't look like a brownie. The brownies usually have these like sashes on with the brown clothes and brown shorts.
Yeah.
And the little beanie that looks like a lot like a yarmulke. And
usually I think they usually wear the pointed hats that tip over on the side.
Oh, do they? Have they worn those? Because I thought I don't remember what they look like. It's been like 45 years since I've seen a brownie. There was tons of girls in my class that were in brownies when I was a kid. So it's like, I don't even want to deal with it. Not
those brownies.
You took that long to pick up where I was going? Oh, that's sad. Anyway.
I don't remember back that far. So anyway, long story short, too late, yeah. So the toys all become toys again on the provision that they're going to come to life every night at midnight, which I'm sure gave a lot of kids night terrors.
Well, it's no worse than this damn elf on the shelf. That thing is creepy.
Yeah.
And man, have they sold a ton of this. And parents are scaring the hell out of their kids with those things.
I know.
Those things are wrong. They should be outlawed.
This is... Wow. I don't know what...
Are you done talking?
Yeah, I'm done.
With Rochelle Stanton as Snoopy, Edmund Penny, who's actually a very well-known character actor, as Santa, Margot Van Leu as the Fairy Snow Queen, Jenny Neal as Ragdoll, Lee Porter as Musical Doll, Don Orick as Jack in the Box. You forgot to talk about him.
I know.
Oh my God!
He was the most annoying Jack in the Box in history.
Bob Porter as Toy Soldier. Really? Audrey Washburn as Baby Doll, Joanna Lamond as Peasant Doll, and Patrick Clement as Pat Clement as Candy Lion. Interesting that Lee and Bob have the same last name. I hope they're husband and wife and not brother and sister, because that's icky.
That would have been wrong.
Ew.
That would have been
okay, so where were you going? And produced and directed by Sid Davis, who was I mean, if you are a bad film aficionado, Davis specialized after this movie in these horrific and often incredibly painful shorts that were designed to scare people. They're scare shorts out, no sex, no drugs, what would you do? Those type of things.
The ones they used to show you at school to try and scare you into being a good citizen.
Yeah, he was a producer and he was also a stand-in for his pal John Wayne, who was one of the uncredited producers on this piece of dreck for 20-some years, and he was also Orson Welles stand-in in Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you see the words produced and directed by Sid Davis, run!
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I actually found this thing even more painful than Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
It was more painful than Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Although I do think the two dolls that fall in love, I do think that's sweet. That's probably because I'm a romantic at heart.
Edmund Penny, who plays the inebriated Santa...
I'm sorry, he seems like he's hammered!
...was actually a very well-known character actor who went on to do... This was one of his first gigs, but he went on to do tons of stuff over the years, including becoming a favorite of Leonard Katzman, one of the producers of the troika or actually there's more than three of them, of CBS soaps in the 70s and 80s. Dallas, Knots Landing, Falcon Crest. He made appearances on all of them at one point or another. And a number of other appearances, too. He passed away in 2008.
My whole thing is, I don't know what they told him, like, acting-wise. It's like, okay, you're Santa that's coming off a 3-day binge?
He actually reminded me kind of Art Carney, the way Art Carney played Santa in Twilight Zone.
Oh, that episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yeah. That's what I got from him. But it was fun.
Well, the whole thing that irritates me...
And no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't fun. It was horrible.
Trying to be honest, no, it wasn't.
It's like... We get the whole thing that Santa's supposed to have a bright red nose like a cherry and all that stuff like that, which is in the poem A Night Before Christmas. I'm like, his nose is red because he's outside in the cold, not because he's out on a drinking party with W.C. Fields. It's like, you guys... But oh man!
So that was part of the riff tracks with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yes.
The second half from 2009 were all Christmas, or allegedly all Christmas oriented shorts, with new intros from Bill and Mike and Kevin. And special guest star on this was Weird Al Yankovic, who did voiceovers on one of the shorts.
Mm-hmm.
These were fun and yet painful and extremely
bad.
No, what's the word I'm looking for? Obtuse. The one was really obtuse. It was like almost Coleman Francis in its obtusiveness, like the narration from the first movie. What was it? What's his first movie?
His first
Yucca
one?
Flats.
Yucca
like the
Flats.
narration from Yucca Flats.
It
from
didn't
that tree.
get quite that. Oh,
it was too.
Okay,
oh my
all
God,
right.
it was. It was like, oh my Lord.
We got, and in between the shorts, we did get a couple of commercials, classic toy commercials for toys that I don't remember at all. The shorts that they showed were Christmas Rhapsody, which was that the tree one?
Christmas Rhapsody was the first one.
Uh-huh.
No, that wasn't the tree one.
I don't remember what the tree one was.
Christmas Rhapsody was the one with the scary mother that they were sending the kids to bed and they were trying to bring the Christmas tree in.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that was awful.
Where the mother looked like a serial killer from the eyes. You look at her, she's like, oh my God, okay.
Well, yeah, that and the fact that the little boy and the little girl sleeping in the same room.
Yeah.
I was like, that, what?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that happened in several of these shorts, if you noticed.
I mean, I know it was a different time frame, but I'm like, that.
Donna Reed's kids would not sleep in the same room.
I'm like,
and
that's
it's from the same era.
creepy.
So let's move
on. We got a cartoon version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
which was done by the Fleischers. It was actually pretty interesting.
It was interesting. You know, it was the typical standard Rudolph story,
right,
that we've seen over and over again.
Right.
Christmas Dream was...
That was the one with the tree.
Okay. Christmas Dream
is really surreal.
It is really, yeah. It's kind of like, well, so is that
Flag
is that
on
the
the
one?
moon. How did it get there?
Oh boy, is that the one they said was like if David Lynch directed a Christmas special? Yeah.
Yes.
And
we're sitting in the recliners at Showcase, and I'm literally, that David Lynch line comes out of Kevin Murphy, and I'm falling apart on the floor because it's so accurate, and it's like, oh no, wait a minute, that's the next one. That's the next one.
All right.
Never mind. We'll go back to that.
I don't agree with the David Lynch line because I'm like, no, this makes sense. So, you know.
David Lynch was the one with the Santa and the single teenage helpers that kept walking through the scene with the two little girl kids.
Okay, yeah, all right. We'll get to that in a minute. I don't remember the name of the Christmas tree one. The whole point of the Christmas tree
Dream.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not. Maybe that was a different one.
The whole point of it was this little tree that talks
this
about
very existential little tree.
Yeah, this very existential little tree that's talking about how he's of no importance because he's so small and he's nothing compared to all the big giant trees.
There's no snow on me.
And until
I kept picturing James Spader doing those lines.
He kept hearing James Spader's
I kept hearing Ultron
I'm like,
doing
stop
these
it!
lines. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm like, you're creeping me out. Quit it. So he winds up, the little tree winds up being taken in by a family. They cut him down.
Turn him into a beautiful Christmas tree, and
he's
happy.
And he's happy.
And thank God.
Even though now he's going to die. You know, as if... Well, he is!
You're sitting there going like, oh, it'll grow back. No, it doesn't work that way.
Well, never mind.
I know.
Can you tell somebody grew up in the suburbs and knows nothing about forestry? Okay, Christmas Dream was just...
These two little kids having a dream about meeting Santa Claus.
They wrote a letter to Santa that they would like to come and visit him at the North Pole, and apparently Santa's got some free time, so he says sure.
Cue Angelo Badalamenti's music.
So these two little kids are taken to Santa's workshop, which looks a lot like somebody's late 50s living room, and Santa takes him through a cut-rate enchanted village, which I know those of you in Boston will get.
It was, and like I said, Kevin Murphy made the remark, this is like Christmas as done by David Lynch. I literally started, I was laughing so hard, I started coughing, and I couldn't stop. I had to put my chair up and sit up because I couldn't quit coughing.
But I actually have to bring
funny.
up the one thing that I was like, wow, they actually went there. After they go through this big tour, Santa sits down with the kids and reminds them that Christmas is to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And I was
That's the one thing you could actually understand him say, the entire thing. Because that's another thing that brought in the David Lynch thing, is you couldn't understand what anybody was saying.
I was like,
it was like listening to Tom Hardy as Bane.
You know, sorry, Mr. Hardy. So anyway, next up was another half animated, half live action feature version of The Night Before Christmas, because we haven't heard that enough. That was all right. I mean, it was kind of funny, but not
I don't
great.
even remember that. What was that about?
It was the poem.
The story, but I mean, what would the animation look like?
Well, for the most part, the animation was Santa outside with the reindeer.
Oh,
and all that.
right. Okay, yeah. And the guy got out of bed and went over and threw up the set. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then we got 3 magic words, which was...
I loved 3 magic words. That was the favorite one of the whole thing, but it didn't make any sense because it was about cooking a dinner with pork.
Yeah.
It didn't really have a Christmas theme.
No. Not at all. And this is the one that the guys were joined by guest riffer Weird Al Yankovic. And it's all about this ditzy housewife who is a newlywed whose husband is bringing home people for dinner, and she's in a lather because she doesn't know how to cook.
So the butcher and his 2 people, which turned out to be some vocal group, I can't remember the name
Jesters.
of them. The Jesters. Were singing about freshness, quality, and flavor, the 3 magic words for pork. And I'm sitting here... I started talking to you about it, and then Kevin Murphy brought it up. All I could think of was Jessica Simpson. I'm sorry. That's terrible, but she's never going to live the chicken of the sea thing.
For the housewife, because the housewife was blonde. And
oh my God, she's
really
pretty, but you know
she was cute in that.
So the guys showed up as her chefs, as her husband's guests. They did every character part in the.
So it's all about the 3 magic words for pork. I'm sorry, I always thought there were other magic words involved with pork, but that's safe words. Never mind.
Family show.
I didn't finish it. I didn't go any further.
Then we had something about a swim party.
Yeah, we had Parade of Aquatic Champions. Because that has so much to do with Christmas, I can't even begin to explain. No,
nothing
really,
to do
I
with Christmas, but it had Johnny Weissmuller in it, and a bunch of other
Johnny
Olympic people.
Weissmuller, Esther Williams, and a bunch of other people that were really good at not
it
drowning.
looked like it was shot at Cypress Gardens or someplace like that.
No, I
think
think no. They said it was somewhere in California.
Well, okay, so but it looked like that kind of thing, and it was fun. It was entertaining, but it had nothing to do with Christmas.
Zip to do with Christmas.
Which Kevin or Bill, one of them, brought up at least once or twice.
No, absolutely, positively, nada. And we got like I said, we got some old time commercials.
Yeah, each of them gave the others a gift of an old time commercial.
Yeah,
Kevin had one of those things where we have actually seen those because Something Weird had them. One of those toys that's available in food stores only.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Wasn't that Johnny Jet or Jimmy Jet?
Something like that,
yeah. The toy...
No, that was the video... Oh, yeah, that was the video.
Yeah.
The video game. The early...
The precursor to a video game where you're flying a jet. It's
a dashboard for kids that want to be pilots.
Yeah. It was kind of like somebody came up with this and electronicized it and made it River Raid when the Atari came out. It was a lot of fun, always spending time with Kevin, Mike, and Bill is always fun because they're really hilarious.
They have not announced their slate for 2017 yet, but it should be fun. And I mean, they're always a lot of fun. And they just, of course, with the popularity growing, Mystery Science Theater 3000 returning sometime in the spring of 2017 on Netflix. It's going to be an interesting year for riffing next year, I think.
It certainly will.
Thank you guys for bringing us a great holiday special. We enjoyed the hell out of it.
We sure did.
Subject Cinema.
Time for Freeze Frame this week. Earlier this week, a film critic named Owen Gleiberman, I don't know if you know who he is, you might, he writes for Variety, he has written for other places in the past, wrote a column about how upsetting it gets when some of the films that are coming out at the end of the year are not available for screening in time for the Critics Awards. And in one particular instance, he brought up Star Wars Rogue One. Now, he did so in a way that was playful to me. He was like, well, when I hear, like, he wanted to see Rogue One, because, as he said, he's not a warzy, but he likes the Star Wars films for the most part and wanted to be able to watch it and see it and, consider it. And he had been talking to normal fans about the same thing last year when the same thing happened when The Force Awakens came out. And they were always telling him, well, it's not a critic's movie. which turned out not to be true. It ended up on a lot of critics' best lists last year. And his standard reply to that is, oh, really? Why not? The Warsies, you would have thought the Warsies had been insulted within an inch of their life. They went after this guy with a gusto you would not believe. I'm sorry, there was nothing wrong with this article. He was not talking down to them. He was not condescending to them. He was merely using Rogue One as an example. There's also Silence, Martin Scorsese's new film, which wasn't screened for some critics groups this year. And I sent it to Kim with a note. I said, could you tell me what's wrong with this article? And she wrote back.
I wrote back that I felt that the article was rude. I felt that the author was looking down his nose at Warsies and the Star Wars universe, and I felt that he came off incredibly arrogant.
Why?
Because
why did you feel... Why? I don't understand what people found so offensive about this article. I really don't.
Because it did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll have a link to the article in the show notes. It's you
okay.
Guys are going to be like...
See, I felt kind of ambushed by this because you knew that it was going to cause this kind of a reaction.
No, honestly, I didn't. I thought you'd agree with me. I was surprised that you took the Warzy side, even though you are a Warzy. I had this conversation, by the way, the same day with our friend Stacy. We all went to Rift Tracks together, and I told her about the article, and she's like, most Warsies have no sense of humor. She enjoys parodies like Blue Harvest from Family Guy and other people. She thinks they're funny. Kim hates them. She just absolutely thinks they're absolutely bottom of the dregs of the world.
I don't have a problem with parodies. I have a problem with people who are being openly insulting to the fans.
Okay.
That's what I have a problem with. If you want to parody the movies...
Then why do you always that's not funny when Blue Harvest is on?
I don't find Blue Harvest funny because I don't think Family Guy's funny.
I don't think Family Guy's funny either, but Blue Harvest is hysterical. Oh my God, I laughed myself sick.
Yeah, I'm still being brought to task for this at least 10 years.
10 years or so.
We all watched it one night. And
together, we all got together to watch it, and it's like, okay.
And I don't think I cracked one
Stacy
smile.
and I were sitting there in hysterics, and she didn't laugh once. I'm like, and Stacy is an even bigger Warzy than Kim is, which is... That's saying the truth.
It is. No, it is. It absolutely is.
Yeah, so.
Maybe it's simply the fact that this bear is tired of getting poked. I mean, we do have a saying in this house.
See, that's just it.
We have a saying in this house, don't poke the bear.
I don't think he meant to poke, though. I think that the article was generally not meaning to make fun of Star Wars fans. It was meaning to say, hey, studios, wise up and show us the films earlier.
I think it's because...
I know what he's going through. We're having a hell of a time catching up.
I think it's because for the longest time, science fiction, fantasy, and horror have been looked down their noses at by most critics. Most critics, originally, when it came to the genres themselves, were very sniffy about them.
Yeah, but that's going way back, though.
No. Over the last couple of years... It has changed, and not in a good way. It has changed in the fact that instead of attacking the movies, for the most part, the critics will go out of their way to attack the fans of those movies.
But they didn't attack anything with the most recent outbreak of science fiction films. Star Wars The Force Awakens, winner of several special effects Oscars, and up for every critics group that did get a chance to see it, and even controversially, the Critics' Choice Awards went back after announcing their awards and added it to their Best Picture nominees, even though almost half the membership said don't do that, because it sets a bad precedent. This year they've agreed not to do that with Rogue One. And over the last several years, science fiction and fantasy have been taken seriously. All 3 Lord of the Rings films were nominated for Best Picture. So with Star Wars, E.T., Close Encounters, I think also, those are serious science fiction and fantasy films. So it's not so much the films that are being blasted by the critics. The critics obviously like the films. So does the Academy. Return of the King, 13 Oscars. But, it's like...
They had to do that.
I know they had to do that. Because the public was freaking out that they didn't get anything for the first two. But still.
But my point is, my point that I'm trying to make is that I'll give you a great example. When they rebooted the Star Trek franchise in 2009, did the media and all that look at, wow, this is going to be a new take on this universe. Let's focus on the positive side of that. No, they didn't. They went out and found the most, unpleasant Star Trek fans, the ones that people automatically point at and say that's a stereotypical Star Trek fan, the ones that were complaining that it should be left alone, and they did it for the sole purpose of being like, oh, ha ha ha, look at these people that still live in their mom's basement and complain on the internet. That's what science fiction fans are. And I'm sorry, I found that personally offensive and insulting. And you should have too.
Okay, I have to be honest. I was one of those fans. I was not sure that Star Trek would work with new actors. I got behind it solely because of the presence of Anton Yelchin. I would not have even got behind it if there had been somebody else cast in that role. It's just that I was such a huge Anton fan that I was like, oh God, I got to give it a try now. The first two trailers, I hated them. I hated both of them. It was the actual film that converted me into a fan of the J.J. Abrams universe version of Star Trek. Because I was worried more than anything after the commercials that Zachary Quinto was going to suck as Spock. I didn't like it at all. And yet, when I saw the film, I changed my mind. He's one of the best parts of those films. He plays that role perfectly. Even Leonard Nimoy thought so. And I'm like, I did not. You were like all jazzed the second even the teaser trailer came out. All they showed in that was them building the Enterprise. So
who was right there? Me.
You were right. But you were right from the beginning, and I don't have a problem with that. But it's not always easy for fans of established genres to see something get rebooted that way. And they're not doing that with Star Wars.
But
let me finish.
Right.
Star Trek was a complete revamp of the show. Star Wars is a continuation and even brought back Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew, and Mark Hamill, among others, to be in the new movies.
Right.
Up to a point.
What was that for?
Lightsaber through the heart. Anyway, ooh, I'm getting daggers now.
But my point, the reason I brought up the whole Star Trek thing was because that's why fans would be angry about that article, because we've been burned before.
But I don't think there was any of that burn in the article.
No, I'm sorry. No. That article came off incredibly arrogant and condescending and rude.
And you better not read eCinemaOne then, because I come across that way about a lot of things. I thought it was very even-handed. It did not take pot shots at the Star Wars fans. It merely acknowledged that the Star Wars universe protects themselves around this giant force field around them from the critics by saying it's not a critic's film. And his curiosity, being a film critic and a fan, was, why do you feel that way?
Because for the longest time we've been looked down upon.
But that doesn't make him talking down to you, at least not in my opinion.
For the longest, like I said, for the longest time, science fiction and fantasy and horror fans have been treated like the redheaded stepchildren of movie fans.
That bastard.
And we're fed up with it. We're sick of it. We don't deserve it.
I'm a science fiction fan too, and I don't feel nearly that strongly. So maybe I should. I don't know.
And the fact that these are not critics' movies, I think the fact that what people mean...
The Star Wars films always have been critics' movies, which is weird.
What I think that a lot of people would like to say when people say it's not a critics' movie, what they actually mean that nobody wants to say is that this is a movie with decent people in it. with decent characters.
I don't know. You
with
could say the same thing about people who love slasher films. These are not critics' films.
With good triumphing over evil in the Star Wars films. No, I understand what you're saying. No, those aren't critics' films. Well, some of them are. Obviously, the first Saw film was
and the
hailed.
First Hostel film, yeah.
You know, those were hailed by critics as being different and new and innovative and stuff like that.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think the thing that a lot of reasons that a lot of science fiction and fantasy, more than horror, is people say they're not critics' movies, is because they do deal with things that critics are all like, oh, that's too basic. Oh, that's too simplistic. You know, the idea that good can win over evil, that light can conquer darkness, that love can overcome hate. You know, but critics don't
Obviously,
want...
it didn't work because we're now in The Force Awakens 25, 30 years in the future of the Star Wars universe.
And hope is
and
still...
darkness is coming back in big way.
But hope is still alive.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well...
Unless Luke turns to the dark side.
You realize if that happens, you're sleeping in the living room for like a week.
I'm not the first one to say that. What do you guys think? I'm going to put a link in the show notes to this article. Take a look at this article and then write to me and Kim at subjectcinema@PNRNetworks.com and let us know. Do you think Mr. Gleiberman was being glib? Or do you think he was being forthright and honest? And do you think the Star Wars fans community went nuts for no reason, or do you think they had a legitimate gripe with the guy? Let us know what you think. We are really curious about it.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
The Silver Stream.
Did we order Chinese, Greek, and Italian food last night?
And hot dogs.
Ugh, last night's a blur.
Hey, what did we end up watching?
Was it Baby Monitor Sound of Fear or Co-ed Call Girl?
No, I'd remember if we'd rocked a spelling.
Hey, they should make a Lifetime movie out of that poor Tory spelling falling at Benihana. Teppanyaki, Grill of Death. We have limited time. Should we skip the town tour?
We can't skip the town tour.
Well, we'll keep it short. There's a debate going on whether or not to take the phone booth out.
But where would Superman change when he comes to save our town from Ben Affleck?
I made the same excellent point.
I am not making tater tots.
Why not? We need sustenance.
You're eating tacos.
They're organic.
And I saw you grab those mini donuts, put them down right now.
Mom?
Oh, yes. Isn't it wonderful?
It's
the whole wall. This is my time to be rootless, and you're okay.
The show was a cultural phenomenon when it was on originally, and now the revivals have become one of Netflix's most downloaded, most watched shows since its premiere a week ago.
Delicious.
Kim was off on vacation this past week and took the time to actually binge all 4 episodes, desperately trying to find the 3 minutes that Jared Padalecki was going to be in them.
I was not desperate. I'm offended and upset and insulted you used the word desperate.
Okay, I'm sorry. Really. Anyway, Kim sat and watched all 4 parts of Gilmore Girls, 4 seasons.
A Year in a Life.
A Year in the Life. That show's title's taken. They can't use that.
Well, they did. Get over it.
So, Gilmore Girls on Netflix.
Okay.
What'd you think?
Well, for those of you who've been living under a rock, Gilmore Girls was a wildly popular show first on the WB. It ran from 2000 to 2006, and then it ran on what was the after product of the WB.
It became the CW. Just move on.
Yeah, WB merging.
Too long explanation.
Can I finish?
No.
WB merged with UPN and became the CW, and it ran on there as well for 7 seasons. When it was
not 7 more seasons.
No, not altogether.
It ran 1 more season on CW.
Right.
So
it ran for 7 seasons altogether.
Right.
When it ended, after it ended, pretty much the first thing that everybody was asking was, when is it coming back? And it took a while, but it actually did come back. It came back this November on Netflix in Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life. This is 4 90-minute episodes that are all named after the seasons. It starts in winter, and we get spring and summer, and then go on to fall. We're dealing with a lot of different things that have been going on in Stars Hollow, Connecticut, which is the town that the show is based in. And the obvious and most important thing that is going on is the fact that there's one major cast member who is not there anymore. Family patriarch Richard Gilmore has died at the time that the show has started. He's been dead for a few months because actor Edward Harriman had passed away. So the show's matriarch, Emily Gilmore, is dealing with the fact that she is now a widow after being married for 50-plus years to her husband. And Lorelai Gilmore is dealing with being housemates, roommates who share a bed with her boyfriend Luke, and the fact that her daughter Rory is back in town. Rory, who always wanted to be a writer, has had a piece published in the New Yorker and is kind of coasting on neutral right now. She's at a point in her life where she really isn't sure what to do. She's in a relationship that's not really... Well, she's in a relationship with a guy named Paul, which nobody seems to remember meeting because he's that memorable, and people tend to forget him the second he leaves the room to, go to the bathroom.
Dullsville, huh?
Total, wallpaper paste is more exciting. I am not making that up. The thing is, she is also in a relationship with another man that she was in a relationship with previously, who has a fiance. So stuff there is, what it is. So she's dealing with upheavals in her professional life and her personal life, and she's come back to Stars Hollow to try and sort stuff out, even though she insists she's not back, as in has come back home to live like a lot of young people her age seem to be doing. A Year in a Life focuses on not only the Gilmores and their dramas, but the other people around Stars Hollow, some of whom have left, some of whom have stayed in Stars Hollow, some people have, moved away. And I have to be honest, I didn't watch Gilmore Girls when it was on originally, but you'd be very surprised how quickly you can get into this show just from watching these episodes. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the episodes. I enjoyed the characters. I thought everybody's acting was some top-notch stuff because the dialogue is very, very fast, especially between Lorelai and Rory, because Rory was born to a young teenage mother. Lorelai was only 16 when she got pregnant with Rory. So they basically wound up being more like best friends than mother and daughter. But it all worked out really well in the end when it came to their relationship. It was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And the end of the episode Winter, which is the final... Fall. Fall is the final episode. There's 4 words in the final episode at the end of the episode that you're like, okay, now
Nothing
what?
like ending on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was basically like, now what? Because you definitely I definitely wanted more. I'm like, okay, we're here now. We've had that happen,
and they're not going to go anymore. Probably this is not. It wasn't designed to be another plot line to move the shows or get more new shows out of it. It was designed to leave viewers hanging, period, at the end. Huh. So we'll see what happens. It was like the end of Dallas, which you hated also.
I hated that, yeah.
The original show, not the revival.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And yes, it was nice to see Jared Padalecki back for 3 minutes as Dean Forrester in the episode.
A lot of characters from the original series made returns, including Melissa McCarthy and a whole host of other people that got their big break on the show over the years.
Yeah. One person who did not come back was Chad Michael Murray, who played the character of Tristan. He didn't come back. It was, like I said, though, it was nice to see Jared in another part other than as Sam Winchester, which is the part that most people know him as. It was nice to see him play somebody who was happy. You know, Dean was happily married. He had children. His wife was expecting another child.
Dean. Notice that? Isn't that interesting?
Isn't that ironic, don't you think? It's just, I thought that was hilarious. I really enjoyed it. I really, really liked it. And the one person I really want to bring up as a total standout is Kelly Bishop, who plays Emily Gilmore. Kelly really had to work with a lot here because she's trying to be strong. Emily's trying to be strong and be the matriarch, the person that's in charge that she usually is, but she is completely rudderless. I mean, she has lost the love of her life, and she's in pain. She's in a lot of pain, and I thought Kelly really played that really, really well. I think she was the real standout for me for the whole series, but I enjoyed it. If you haven't checked out Gilmore Girls: A Year in the Life, I definitely think you should. If you were a fan of the show,
From what I've heard, if you're a fan of the show, original show, you're going to love these movies.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and like I said, I didn't watch the original show, but you can catch up quick, even if you're not someone that watched the original series. You can catch up quick, and you will get pulled in.
And just for the record, you can catch up on the original series too, because Netflix has the entire series in their library.
They do, and it also runs on the cable channel Up. But you could binge the whole series on Netflix and then
Up?
watch. Yeah,
Up. Is that Pop's new
no,
sister network or
not.
something?
No, it isn't. But I enjoyed Gilmore Girls: A Year in a Life. It's a fun way to spend a couple of hours. Definitely make a trip and go check out Stars Hollow.
Real movies for real people. Subject Cinema.
His movies.
Way to go, Charlie!
I think it rips through your clothes when it takes you over.
More human than human is our motto.
He tasks me, and I shall have him.
Her movies.
The hills are alive. You're so jealous you can hardly breathe.
The rum!
Yes, the rum is gone.
Why is the rum gone?
Suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste.
Fuzzy Fur Movies. The Cavebabble Podcast. We babble about the movies you love.
And probably a few that you love to hate.
Find out more at cavebabble.com. Also available on iTunes, Stitcher, and by Smoke Signal. C-A-V-E. Babble. Cavebabble.com. Movies for him, her, and you.
If you're looking for great films, well, that's okay. You'll like us anyway. Subject Cinema.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. You're a bad banana with a greasy black peel.
This is a bit of a bizarre Grinch watch, we know, but we thought this was an interesting take because it's actually a person who's had to be a Grinch for his neighborhood and his pals, but he's doing it for all the right reasons, and I'm like, that sucks, but you know, you want to explain what's going on in Wachovia, Minnesota? Is that what it is?
Wakania, Minnesota. Well, I don't think he's being a Grinch. I think the person that's making him do this is a total Grinch.
Well, he's not making him do it. He chose to do this.
Well, Bob Zajac, I hope I said that right, is the owner of a home along Park Point Road in Waconia, Minnesota. He has been making the decision the last few years to decorate his home and yard with thousands of Christmas lights. The display is done set to music, and there's a whole beautiful light show with music and everything like that he runs, for free. doesn't charge people or anything, from Thanksgiving to early January, and thousands of people come to see his lit up house. And, it apparently wasn't a problem for most people until this year. Bob has decided that he is not going to run his lights this year because he has had complaints from one neighbor who has complained about the lights and the traffic that the lights bring, that the neighbor has complained a lot, and the complaints have really amped up recently. Some of the neighbors' complaints included the fact that there were cars driving through their cul-de-sac to see the lights, that some of these people were leaving behind trash, that the lights were up year-round, which I don't see how that's anybody else's business, but okay, and that there was too much noise caused by people who wanted to come and see the lights. So Bob, instead of fighting with this neighbor, decided to just not do the lights this year. In a quote, he said, quote, "Faith, hope, and love, that is what Christmas is about. And I think fighting for our display violated what I was brought up to believe," end quote. I think that it's really sad that he decided to do this. He says that
most of the other neighbors are okay with it. It's just one particular neighbor that's been a problem for the last several years about this.
Yeah.
Everybody else doesn't have a problem.
Most of the neighbors in the area, I guess, were very neutral about it. They respected that some people were bothered, but they're sad to see the lights go. Bob felt that it was important to be a gentleman about this and respect the opinions of this one neighbor who has not been named in any of the media stuff about this information.
Bob won't say who it is. That's
why.
He
won't say who it is. Another quote from Bob is, quote, everybody has their own belief systems. Everyone has their own way of celebrating Christmas, and I want to credit that, end quote. There is one thing that he said that he was not going to negotiate with this person about, and that was the decorations that his children have been putting up in the yard. He is allowing his children, he has 8 children, to choose from some of the lights and the decorations and to put them up, but it's not going to be anything like the big light show. He has 300,000 lights, apparently, that he has been, using to make Christmas happy for his neighborhood. He is even saying that he has plans to move to a new house in a different neighborhood so that he can do this and not, bother whomever it is in his neighborhood that seems to have this problem. The last quote in the article is a quote from Bob. He says, quote, "We'll have a bigger storage space, more Christmas lights, and get bigger every year," end quote.
I think it's a really decent thing what Bob is doing.
I do too.
And it's obvious that he's a deep believer in his faith and believes that there's something there to turning the other cheek and moving on. I feel sad that he's had to, find a new place to move to so we can continue his lights tradition. And it's a month out of the year. And the guys, I know that this causes traffic problems wherever this happens. Just take a look at the stuff they have on ABC's Great Christmas Light Fight every year, which is season premiere this coming week. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I really feel that it's an overreaction in some ways, but I am not there and I don't know what it sees. I hate to see that go because he brings far more joy to people with his lights display than the neighbor would get upset about it to me.
Yeah.
But that's me.
I think that Bob is definitely a gentleman, and I think Bob is obviously a really good example of what it means to be a good Christian person.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that my thoughts towards this neighbor, whoever they
print his name, print his number, let everybody go after him.
That
is exactly what you said to me.
Well, my attitude about what I was going to say was my thoughts toward this person are decidedly unchristian, and I admit that. I think this person, whoever they are, is being really mean. I mean, I just think that they're being very unkind,
very Grinchy,
very Grinchy.
So to Bob's neighbor, who gets our Grinch watch this week, we say on you.
Yep, we do double.
This is the place to be. You're listening to Subject Cinema with TC Kirkham and Kim Brown.
It's award season, guys. If you haven't heard us tell you that last couple of weeks, Red Carpet Monitor's got all the latest awards for you. Critics' Choice nominations came out this week. I'll tell you, I was not happy with them in a major way in one of their categories. So we'll just run them down real quick. Nominated for Best Picture: Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, La La Land, Lion, Loving, Manchester by the Sea, Moonlight, and Sully. Nominated for Best Actor: Casey Affleck, Manchester by the Sea, Joel Edgerton, Loving, Andrew Garfield, Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling, La La Land, Tom Hanks, Sully, and Denzel Washington, Fences. For Best Actress, nominations went to Amy Adams for Arrival, Annette Bening for 20th Century Women, Isabelle Huppert for Elle, Ruth Negga for Loving, Natalie Portman for Jackie, and Emma Stone for La La Land. For Best Supporting Actor, nominations are Mahershala Ali for Moonlight. Yay, I got his name right!
Very nice.
Jeff Bridges for Hell or High Water. Ben Foster for Hell or High Water. Supporting? Really? Lucas Hedges, Manchester by the Sea. Dev Patel for Lion. Again, there's that supporting thing. And Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals. For Best Supporting Actress, nominations went to Viola Davis for Fences. Greta Gerwig for 20th Century Women. Naomi Harris for Moonlight. Nicole Kidman for Lion. Janelle Monáe for Hidden Figures. And Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea. For Best Young Actor or Actress, the nominations went to Lucas Hedges, Manchester by the Sea, Alex R. Hibbert, Moonlight, Louis McDougall, A Monster Calls, Medina Nawanga for Queen of Katwe, Sonny Pawar for Lion, and Hallie Steinfeld, I never can get her name right, for The Edge of 17. Gee, there's some names missing in that category. Best Acting Ensemble, 20th Century Women, Fences, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlighting. For Director, nominations Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Mel Gibson for Hacksaw Ridge, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea, David Mackenzie for Hell or High Water, Denis Villeneuve for Arrival, and Denzel Washington for Fences. For Best Original Screenplay, nominations Damien Chazelle for La La Land, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, Yorgos Lanthimos and Amethys Filippo, I hope I got that right, for The Lobster, Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea, Jeff Nichols for Loving, and Taylor Sheridan for Hell or High Water. For Best Adapted Screenplay, the nominees are Lion, Nocturnal Animals, Arrival, Sully, Hidden Figures, and Fences. Cinematography nods went to Jackie, Moonlight, Nocturnal Animals, La La Land, and Arrival. Production design, Arrival, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Jackie, La La Land, and Live by Night. Editing, La La Land, Hacksaw Ridge, Sully, Moonlight, and Arrival. Costume design, Fantastic Beasts, Florence Foster Jenkins. Jackie, Allied, Love and Friendship, and La La Land. Hair and makeup, Doctor Strange, Fantastic Beasts, Hacksaw Ridge, Jackie, and Star Trek Beyond. Best visual effects, A Monster Calls, Arrival, Doctor Strange, Fantastic Beasts, and The Jungle Book. For animated feature, nominations went to Finding Dory, Kubo, Moana, Kubo and the Two Strings, excuse me. We're just used to saying Kubo around here. Moana, The Red Turtle, Trolls, and Zootopia. Trolls? Really? Trolls? Really? For Best Action Movie, Captain America Civil War, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Hacksaw Ridge, and Jason Bourne. For Actor in an Action Movie, Benedict Cumberbatch, Doctor Strange, Matt Damon, Jason Bourne, Chris Evans, Captain America Civil War, Andrew Garfield, Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. For Best Actress in an Action Movie, Gal Gadot, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, Scarlett Johansson, Captain America Civil War, Margot Robbie, Suicide Squad, and Tilda Swinton, Doctor Strange. For Best Comedy, Central Intelligence, Deadpool, Don't Think Twice, Edge of 17, Hail Caesar, and The Nice Guys. For Best Science Fiction Horror Film, 10 Cloverfield Lane, Arrival, Doctor Strange, Don't Breathe, Star Trek Beyond, and The Witch. For Best Foreign Language Film, Elle, The Handmaiden, Giulietta, Neruda, The Salesman, and Tony Erdmann. And Best Song, Audition from La La Land, Can't Stop the Feeling from Trolls, City of Stars from La La Land, Drive It Like You Stole It from Sing Street.
Yay!
How Far I'll Go from Moana, and The Rules Don't Apply from Rules Don't Apply. For Best Score, Moonlight, Arrival, La La Land, Jackie, and Lion. There's also some Best Actor and Actress in a Comedy up here. Where the hell is Theo Taplitz for Little Men in the Young Actor category? And Michael Barbieri? I'm sorry, I am pissed off. These two have given two of the best damn performances of any age this year, and everyone is freaking ignoring them. Except, at least the movie didn't get ignored by the Spirit Awards. They did, but the movie didn't. I am not happy with the Critics' Choice Awards. If Roger Ebert was still around, one of them would have been nominated.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you that. Also this week, as we speak, and we'll have them next week, obviously, unless they're done before we get done with the show, the Los Angeles film critics are naming their stuff as we are recording. Also out this week, the New York Film Critics Circle, which was announced the same day as the Critics' Choice Awards. New York has picked La La Land as Best Film, Barry Jenkins for Moonlight, Best Director, Casey Affleck, Best Actor, Isabelle Huppert for both Elle and Things to Come for Best Actress, Mahershala Ali for Moonlight, Best Supporting Actor, Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea, and Certain Women for Supporting Actress. Best Screenplay went to Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea. Cinematography went to James Laxton for Moonlight. Best Foreign Language Film, Tony Erdmann. That film is not coming out here in the States in time for us to see it for our awards or for my Critics Wire Awards, which have to be in later this week. And it is getting everything for foreign language from everybody. Best Documentary, O.J. Made in America. Best Animated Film, Zootopia. Best First Film, Edge of 17, tied with Krishna. And a special award to Thelma Shoemaker for Julie Dash's Daughters of the Dust 25th Anniversary Restoration release. Mm-hmm. So that's what New York has to say. Now, two big film publications this week also announced their top films of the year, and interestingly enough, they were both topped by the Austrian-German comedy Tony Erdmann. Again, Tony Erdmann was a monster hit at Cannes. It is a comedy about an estranged daughter stuck spending time with her estranged father, and the father tries to get into her good graces by pranking her in public over and over.
I can't see anything wrong with that.
It won critical raves at Cannes. It went nuts at Toronto. And both Cahiers du Cinéma, that's the official French Film Legion's magazine, and Sight and Sound, Britain's BFI's number one magazine for film, both of them picked Tony Erdmann as the number one film of the year. So that's interesting. Among the ones in France, I don't have the Sight and Sound list up here, but it's interesting that among the films in France on the top 10 for Cahiers du Cinéma is number 3. The Neon Demon, most recent film by Nicholas Winding Refn, which was just ripped to shreds by most U.S. critics. Mm-hmm. And French critics picked it their third best film of the year. I don't know what that says.
Somebody's wrong.
Yes, we will continue to have all of the awards show up. Keep an eye on eCinemaOne.com. I'm getting them up as soon as I can after they come out. And we'll run them over here. Obviously, we will have the Los Angeles critics up later today as we are recording this, which is the day and date, December 4th. And we'll have that up on the site before the end of the evening. And also all the ones that are happening this coming week, which include several other critic groups. And we'll end next Sunday with Boston.
When it comes to everything movies, we've got it. Subject Cinema.
Plug Central. This is the part of the show where we talk about us. Gonna just get in a couple of things. First off, a big announcement. This is day and date only. If you're listening to this later on, like a year from now, it doesn't pertain to you. But as of right now, this week, Subject Cinema presents Front Row 5 and 10 will be preempted. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of stuff going on this week. It will return a week from Wednesday. In time, our next lists are going to be our 5 best and 5 worst.
Yes, moments
Star
from
Wars
the Star
moments,
Wars universe.
and it'll be right in time for Rogue One's release, so we'll have that on. So there will be no Front Row 5 and 10 this week. Now, we got all kinds of stuff going on, and I cannot explain the importance of eCinemaOne right now. eCinemaOne is our website where you get Subject Cinema from. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be very busy over there as the critics lists come out. We've already started. We have coverage of all the critic stuff coming out. We've had the Annie nominations up, the Spirits, and the Critics' Choice Awards. We'll have the Los Angeles Film Festival, Los Angeles Critics' Choice this week, and a few of other ones this week. And the film festivals have started. We've already started our coverage of the 11th Annual Festival of Film Festivals, which will be happening on Subject Cinema on January 29th next year, 2017. Can't happen this year. It's already happened. But Slamdance and Sundance have already announced Slamdance announced its whole slate. They only have a few films. Sundance has announced its competition films and its next films, with more announcements coming in the next 2 weeks. We are waiting with bated breath for the Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, Victoria, and Big Sky documentary nominations, which are all a part of our annual show. And of course, the last one to announce of those groups is Berlinale, which won't be announced probably until a week before the show. It usually comes out just about 2 weeks before the festival actually happens in February. So we'll hope that we got lists coming up, and we got all kinds of stuff going on. So it's hella important that you come over to eCinemaOne.com every day. You might want to set up a Google alert for it so you know when we post the new stuff. You might want to come over and subscribe to the updates so you'll get an automatic email every day with all the links from all the coverage. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to do something. You don't want to be left out, and we definitely want you to be there. Now, let's talk for a moment about our Patreon campaign. We launched a campaign back in October, late October, early November. And, we've been making it clear for several weeks. We really need some new equipment. We are desperately... Our sound thing is going again, and it's like the third one we've had. Our pre-mixer, our preamp. And we definitely need to get a new mixing board and get everything consolidated. And it's going to be really hard for us to do that without some help. We've been open and upfront about our needs, and we know that there's it's Christmas time. We know that you've got other gifts, but let me put you in this scenario, okay? Subject Cinema, hopefully you've been listening for all 11 years, but if you haven't, we hope that you've been listening for long enough to know that we really enjoy putting on this show for you, and we love doing it. It takes some, I do 10 to 20 hours of research every week for the show. Sometimes it doesn't show, I admit, because I'll forget one thing or another, but I do that. Plus I do, I am the person running eCinemaOne, and I'm posting stuff there, and I'm working a regular job, all the time, and it's kind of hard to do everything at once, and it would be nice if you guys would take the time to find it in your hearts to join the Patreon campaign at the $2 level. Now, $2 a month means that you can help us get to our goals, and you don't have to feel guilty about it, that you didn't donate. You're giving $2 a month, and believe me, we have all kinds of perks and stuff available for everywhere from $2 to $100 a month. And if we can get somebody on those big levels, that would be great. But I was calculating the other day, and I was balancing out our average listenership over the last 3 months. If every one of our listeners took the time to donate and join our Patreon campaign at the $2 level, not only would they get the exclusive Patreon updates that are coming over there in the next week or two, you would help us be able to afford our new equipment. You would help us be able to sponsor some film festivals because, as it happens, if every one of our regular listeners, or who appear to be regular listeners out there, join us at the $2 level, that's $2 a month out of your pocketbook. $2 a month. It's not much. We would have enough to more than meet our monthly sales goal, which was down the road. We would be easily making that top goal with just $2 a month from everybody. Now, if you want to donate more, we have more perks for each level: $5, $10, $25, $50, and $75 and $100. And a lot of them have really good stuff. And the $100 perks are really good because, I mean, if you're rich enough to give us $100 a month, that's freaking awesome. And we want to make sure that you get like really freaking awesome perks back. But like I said, $2 a month is all it takes. I sponsor stuff all the time on and I haven't on Patreon yet because we kind of broke the last month trying to get everything ready. But I do sponsor stuff on Pledge Music and Kickstarter and Indiegogo and stuff all the time. And because I know it's important for these people to have crowdfunder stuff like us to be out there helping them out, even if we can't do very much. Sometimes we do a little bit more. If they got a perk we really like, we'll go a little higher or whatever. But the Patreon campaign is our lifeblood right now. We're operating on bare bones, and we really, really desperately need to get that new mixing board. It's going to cost us $300 or $400, and I have a feeling we're going to need it before the end of the year because this thing is about ready to give out. To come on board and join us for $2 a month. If we can get everybody to do that, we got it set. Okay? It's not much, and we hope that you don't think... I mean, I think it's appropriate that we're doing it right now because, after all, it is PBS fun-sucking time, too.
That is true.
And so we get to fun-suck a little bit with Patreon. But, it is helpful, and everybody you help with that, it tells us, number one, it lets us know, A, you're a fan. Number two, B, you really like us enough to donate. And C, you want to see us make those goals. It's important. I honestly thought that when we did it, when we launched the campaign 6 weeks ago or so, that we would end up getting like the first goal within the first couple of weeks, because I thought there'd be enough people out there that would be able to do this and really punch it for us because they like us, they listen. I know they listen. I can tell from the downloads that we do have a loyal core of listeners, and we're asking you to put your loyalty to us in the form of a recurring donation of at least $2 a month. Now, we're not going to cut the shows off. We'll find a way to be here every week and annoy everybody, regardless of whether or not we get the money. But it would be nice to be able to really make this a real, sincere, extra effort to do something with this show after 10 years that we've always wanted to do. Turn it into a full-time profession. Mm-hmm. For one of us, if not both of us. And we hope that you will have the kindness in your heart, the extra $2, that's 8 quarters, 20 dimes. It's more than it's less than you have to give to the parking meter at work or the tea.
It's less than a large Starbucks.
It's well less than a large Starbucks, and you probably buy 15 of those in a month's time. So if you took all the money you spent on Starbucks and put it in Subject Cinema, we'd do really well. Especially if we could get Lucas Cruikshank to do it. God, Lucas is never without those things. So I'm sorry if I sound like I'm abjectly begging. I don't mean to. But we've always wanted to do the best show for you guys. And by doing this for us, we can continue to give back even more. We have so many plans on our later goals levels. We want to be able to sponsor film festivals. We want to be able to maybe even have our own film festival at some point. We want to be able to help bring you better film festival coverage. Like actually be on the ground at some of these film festivals instead of doing all the coverage by far with screeners and hopefully interviews and stuff and that we can't do. We can't even do interviews anymore because our computer, when we got it, there's been something wrong since we got this computer that won't allow us to use Skype. our microphones will not work with the computer. So it's like we've been stuck without being able to do interviews for over a year now. And it's like crazy. So we need to replace that too. I'm asking you, person to person, friend to friend, to a podcaster to listener, take a moment and find a way to budget at least $2 a month into your schedule. You won't even know it's missing. You can do it through charge card, PayPal, however you set up your Patreon account, and we really do know that this is going to help us across the board. It benefits all of our sites, all of our podcasts, as well as the people involved. Not just Kim and I, but our correspondent Anthony Lamberti, Cavebabble's Eric and Valerie Lyon, and a number of other people on the outside that do work for us from time to time when we can afford it. Voiceover people and production people that we occasionally will have an extra $50 or $100 to spend on getting stuff done that I can't do. And it's really important that you get involved. Be involved. Be a part of that community. Make Patreon a community of listeners who want to be interactive, who want to help out, and who are interested in taking part. And by doing that, you can also follow us on Twitter and watch our tweets. I'm at eCinemaOne and at eCinemaBoston. Kim is at Platinum Roselle. And you will also like to hook up with our Facebook, hook up with the show. And don't forget, when listening to Subject Cinema, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the show somewhere. iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn.com, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, even on YouTube now. Go over and leave us comments and subscribe. Because we want to know. We don't hear from anybody much on email anymore. We used to hear from people all the time. And I think life just got in the way because it's so crazy. But we would still love to hear from you from time to time. And you can write us at subjectcinema at PNRNetworks.com. Or you can go over to our SpeakPipe, which is speakpipe.com/subjectcinema, and leave us a voicemail with your microphone and stuff. And if we do that, we'll play it on the air. We usually read letters on the air. And most importantly, if you reach that certain level of Patreon, you get credit on the air and credit on the website for being a Patreon sponsor. And everybody likes to see their names. I love to see our names on movie crawls that we've helped kickstart and on websites and stuff. And I know you guys would love to see that on the Subject Cinema website. So please help us out. Patreon.com/Popcorn and Roses. How did my PBS sounding guy do? Did I do okay?
Great.
We hope you're having fun with us, and we hope you'll be there. Don't forget to listen to all of our shows. Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, Platinum Roses Garden, Cavebabble, and coming in January, Real Rewind, and coming in March or April, our first video project, hopefully. And don't forget to check out the websites therein. And spread the word. If you are a Subject Cinema fan, tell people about it. So they'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on, until we knock the internet out and make Kim Kardashian look stupid. No, that's not going to happen, is it? Damn it anyway. And that's Plug Central for this week.
Good times and great movies. Subject Cinema.
Lost a lot of people over the last several weeks,
Yes, we have.
including some big names. We're going to talk about them as we go through this Take a Bow segment. On November 14th, country singer Holly Dunn passed away. She's been battling ovarian cancer for a couple of years. She had a big hit in the 1980s called Daddy's Hands that became a big hit, but she kind of got out of favor with country audiences by releasing a single called Maybe I Mean Yes, which people said might encourage date rape. but she also later became a writer. She was 59. American journalist and PBS NewsHour co-host, co-anchor Gwen Ifill passed away, also November 14th, of endometrial cancer. She was 61. I didn't even know Gwen was sick. She was on right up until almost when she passed away. And Janet Wright, best known for her role in the Canadian television series The Corner Gas, passed away on November 14th. She was 71. She did a lot of episodics in Canadian and American television, and several movies as well. November 15th, we said goodbye to Mose Allison, one of the top pianists in the country. He was a jazz pianist, singer, and songwriter, best known for Young Man Blues. He was 89. And music director Cliff Barrows passed away. For over 50 years, Barrows was the musical director for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, handling all the choirs and such for the various Billy Graham crusades that went on throughout the country throughout the 50s, 60s, and right through today. On November 16th, songwriter Mentor Williams passed away. He was 70. Williams, big songwriter and producer in the 70s, best known for writing Dobie Gray's hit Drift Away, which also became a hit for the Nylons and a few other people later on. On November 18th, Russian-American actor Evgeny Lazarev passed away. He was 79. Lazarev is one of those, hey, it's that guy faces that you see usually playing Russians or foreign heavies in movies like Iron Man 2, The Sum of All Fears, and in games also, Call of Duty 4, he did a voice and character actor part for. And Sharon Jones passed away. Sharon's is one of the most her star kind of came back to light this year with the Miss Sharon Jones documentary. She had been suffering from pancreatic cancer for a number of years. She was 60. On November 22nd, actor Peter Sumner passed away. The Australian actor was known for appearances in Star Wars, Heartbreak High, and Ned Kelly. He was 74. On November 23rd, actor Andrew Sachs passed away. He did a lot of stuff over the years, including Coronation Street and Hitler, The Last 10 Days, but is best known
He was best known as Manuel.
Manuel on Fawlty Towers.
The hapless Spanish waiter on Fawlty Towers, who was usually the subject of John Cleese's character Basil Fawlty's abuse with the apologetic line, sorry, he's from Barcelona.
And Jerry Tucker passed away, another one of the original Our Gang kids. He was 91. On November 24th, America's Mom passed away, and it was a shock to everybody. Florence Henderson. She was 82. Apparently, a sudden heart attack took her life. There have been nothing but praise all across the internet for the woman, who was known as one of the kindest people on the face of the planet. All of her television kids have stated what a wonderful person she was, what a wonderful role model, and how much they're going to miss having her there, which means all the Bradys are now orphans. Robert Reed having died a number of years ago, and Ann B. Davis a few years ago also.
She was most seen recently in the audience for Dancing with the Stars, where TV daughter Maureen McCormick was competing.
She'd appeared
on
just
the show.
that Monday before she passed away, and she was also a previous competitor.
That's true.
During the same season that The Situation was on. I've forgotten what season it was.
Yeah.
On November 25th, I'll get it out. American musician Colonel Abrams died. Abrams was one of the most loved R&B performers of the 80s and 90s. Critics went nuts for him. He was not immensely commercially successful, but he had a lot of fans in the industry. He was 67. Actor Ron Glass passed away on the 25th as well. Ron, best known for his roles in Firefly and Barney Miller over the years. Also did a short-lived African-American version of The Odd Couple. Did a lot of voiceover work over the years. He was 71. And on that day, Cuban dictator Fidel Castro passed away. He was 90. Castro was in charge of Cuba for over 50 years, turning over power in 2008 to his brother Raul. Many people praising and damning Castro upon his passing.
Seems to be depending on where you were geographically. People in Cuba were mourning him. People in Little Havana were
in Miami
having parades.
were having parades, right?
So
November 26th saw us lose Fritz Weaver, one of the most recognizable character actors of all time, I think. He was in everything over the year. A Tony winner for 1970, actor in Failsafe, Holocaust, the Thomas Crown Affair, just touching his huge catalog of appearances.
He usually played the authoritative figure,
professorial types. Yeah,
the look down your nose type. He's definitely one of those. Hey, it's that guy. People.
On November 27th, actor Bernard Gallagher passed away, most recently on Downton Abbey, but he also was a star of Casualty in Britain for many years. He was 87. Valerie Gaunt passed away at the age of 84. Valerie's only 2 films were both films for Hammer. She co-starred as the female lead in The Curse of Frankenstein and Dracula with Christopher Lee. Mm-hmm. Those were the only 2 films she made before she got out of the business and just stayed out of the business forever. But people who were Hammer fans know who she was. And American music industry executive Tony Martell died. Martell, best known as one of the good guys in the record industry, the ones that don't screw you. He took care of dozens of acts in his 50-plus years in the music industry. On November 28th, legendary executive Grant Tinker passed away. He was 90. Tinker was best known as the CEO of MTM Productions, his then wife, Mary Tyler Moore's production company. Would later go on, after their divorce, to remain friends with her, continue to producing with her, and become the head of NBC, which he ran for 5 years in the mid-'80s. He was 90. Actor and filmmaker Keo Woolford passed away. Keo, best known for his recurring role on the new metrosexual version of Hawaii Five-0. Complications from a stroke. He was only 49. And the Chapecoense soccer team from Brazil, all but 2 members of the team were killed in a plane crash in Colombia on November 28th. There was, I think there were 40 people involved with that, most of them in their 20s, and it was such a sad event. And the first where I can think of a pro soccer or pro team of any kind losing their life in a plane crash in quite a few years. Mm-hmm. The last time was probably the Chilean soccer team that Alive was about. I'm not sure. On November 30th, Peng Chai-kei passed away. Peng was the creator of General Tso's Chicken. We got to the bottom of that in Ian Chaney's wonderful documentary, The Search for General Tso, last year, and he was the first to make it in Hunan cuisine area of Taiwan. Later brought it to New York, and where it was served by the entire American populace of Chinese restaurants. And Alice Drummond passed away. Alice is one of those doddering old lady type characters that you see everywhere but don't recognize until you see her picture. She was 88 years old, appeared in Ghostbusters, Awakenings, Doubt, and about 50 other films over the course of her career. On December 1st, Don Calfa passed away. Don was another one of those character actors. He usually played stuff like Bookies or the slimy characters. He made a real good career out of playing slime balls on the big screen. I knew him from Legmen. He was the boss of actors Bruce Greenwood and John Terlesky on that short-lived show from the 1980s. But he also appeared in Return of the Living Dead, Weekend at Bernie's, Me, Myself, and I, and dozens of other things over the years. He was 76. And earlier this weekend, Billy Chapin passed away, or Chapin, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. He was a child actor who got out of the business later, but he was the star of the critically acclaimed film The Night of the Hunter from the 1950s. Mm-hmm. We here at Subject Cinema pass on our condolences to the families and friends of all those that passed on in the last few weeks and invite them all to take a final bow with us.
The Last Reel.
Okay, Kim's got more baby news this week.
I have more baby news. Baby news is always exciting. I mean, we're not even going to talk about the other exciting baby news of the week, which is the new trailer up for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with more Baby Groot. Yay! The baby news this week is even more exciting, which we just found out yesterday. Jensen
She actually
Ackles,
found out during the recording of Platinum Rose's Garden.
Yes, I did.
She's knocking on the door while I'm editing it. I need to get back on. Okay, whatever. That's never happened before.
Because we're all about crackerjack production values here on Subject Cinema.
We try to be.
Jensen Ackles, one of the stars of Supernatural, tweeted to his Twitterverse
Legions
listeners.
of Twitter fans.
That would include me. Thank you very much.
I know.
Tweeted out the great news that he and his wife, Danielle, have welcomed 2 new children into the world. Danielle gave birth to their twins on early Friday morning.
Wait for it.
What? And mom and babies are doing great. They had a boy and a girl. Their names are Zeppelin Bram and Arrow Rhodes. I'm sorry, comment?
I'm sorry. Arrow. ARROW.
Congratulations.
For
you learned how
a
to spell.
girl? I'm not even sure I like that for a boy.
I
Zeppelin Bram. I'm sorry. No longer is Apple the worst name for a celebrity's child. I'm sorry.
Look, I have to be honest. I was like, okay, that's different. But when I thought about it, if they wind up calling him Zepp, that'd be cool. They wind up calling him Bram, that would be cool too. I like Arrow as a name for a girl. I think it has a strong vibe to it.
At least you can go by Zepp with Zeppelin or Bram, but then you get stuck with what are you going to shorten Arrow to?
Maybe they'll just call her Arrow, which I'm sorry. I think that has a very I think Arrow, especially over the last few years, has a very strong, empowering female vibe to it. Hello, Katniss Everdeen.
Then name your kid Katniss Everdeen, not Arrow.
Do I have your permission now? I have it on tape. So Anyway, congratulations to Jensen and Danielle and their expanding family. They already have a daughter, Justice J. Ackles, who goes by JJ, who is 3. So she gets to be a big sister.
Yes, I think the goofy named big sister to the goofy named little siblings. What is it with Jensen and Danielle Ackles and the names they pick out for their kids? I swear to God. I said the same thing when Justice was born.
You did. You were being a jerk then.
You wouldn't be saying that if it wasn't Jensen Ackles.
No, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, see?
Fine, I'm shallow.
You're as defensive about Jensen and what's his name?
Jared.
Big tall boy.
Jared!
As I used to be about Sean Waltman. So there you go.
Well, yes, but there is a difference. Talent. But
yeah, I'd like to see those two go in the ring the way he did.
This could get very personal and extremely nasty, so we're going to stop it right now. Anyway, on behalf of Subject Cinema, we would like to say congratulations to what? To Jensen.
Behalf of Subject, Cinema's sitting over here.
We would like to say congratulations to Jensen and his beautiful wife Danielle, and goodbye to sleep. Because you guys are not going to be sleeping anytime in the immediate future with 3 children in the house under the age of 5. I don't envy you one tiny bit.
And that's the last reel.
All movies, all the time. Subject Cinema.
Well, I think it's time to get out of here. Now, I think, as we said, we're going to have some crazy shows over the next few weeks. Kim is amiss at me because I didn't actually let her talk about the show. So now that I'm done with my PBS-style pledge from Plug Central earlier in the show, you may now talk about Platinum Rose's Garden. I thought I mentioned it enough, but if you want to...
Well, I just wanted to bring up my show, Platinum Rose's Garden, which is my Supernatural podcast, where I do recaps of this week's episode of Supernatural. And hopefully you guys will go over there and check out my review of Rock Never Dies, which was this week's episode. And I hope you will go check that out over at PlatinumRosesGarden.com and take a listen and send me some email if you'd like. And I would definitely love to hear from you guys and know that people like the show. And so, as I said, I hope you guys will come over to PlatinumRosesGarden.com. And if you know someone who is a Supernatural fan that is not checking it out, you know, give them a little nudge over in my direction, and hopefully they'll listen to my show and enjoy it.
Yep, and that goes for Cavebabble with Eric and Valerie Lyon, who do mostly movies, but they also do games, music, odd things to eat, and a lot more. When they're doing shows, they have been really busy the last few weeks and have not had time to get anything up, but they are going to try and do some more stuff. As Eric was telling me last week, they're going to get things there eventually. So hold in there. They'll be back, cavebabble.com. And don't forget to check out all of our latest stuff. I am going to have... Now, as we go through, as I said, this is definitely a timely, non-evergreen thing. Going to have a big announcement later this week on the website at eCinemaOne.com concerning something that we've done in the past that's rising from the ashes of what it was before and getting even better than it ever has been, because I have a lot more stuff to do with it. That's coming up sometime this week, possibly next week on the show, but I'm aiming for Wednesday. I'm not going to promise anything. Because we have commitments to see 4 films this week, something like that, and we have commitments to see at least 6 or 7 more on DVD or streaming, trying to catch up. My Critic Wire stuff is due on the 8th, so that's going to do it for this week, and we hope you'll be here, and we do hope that I know I sounded like... I hope I sounded like one of those nice, very convincing PBS people. They convinced me this week. I absolutely had to become a WGBH sustainer to get my Carpenter's music, and DVDs. But we've been talking about doing that for a while, and it's only $20 a month. See, we're going to try and do $20 a month. You guys can do $2 a month. It's not that big a deal. It's a good cause.
Yeah.
It reminds you how important you are to us. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Reprise the theme song and roll the credits. Whenever my life gets me so down, I know I can go down to where the music and the fun never ends. As long as the music keeps playing, you know what I'm saying. I know that I can find a friend down at the Roundhouse.
For Subject Cinema, I'm T.C. Kirkham.
I'm Kim Brown.
May your popcorn always be buttered.
And may your roses always be in bloom.
TTFN.
Bye now.
You have been listening to Subject Cinema with hosts T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Subject Cinema is produced by PNRNetworks, Boston, Massachusetts, which is solely responsible for its content. Subject Cinema theme performed by Eric Lyon. Subject Cinema is recorded and produced using Sony Vegas products. Subject Cinema is copyright 2016 by PNRNetworks under a Creative Commons license. Check out a new episode of Subject Cinema every weekend. Until next time, this is Bob Taylor for Subject Cinema, and we'll see you at the movies.
That's all.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.